I wanted to tell you a couple of words about an app we did with Cisco. It's an app that we have been doing with them for a few years now. We started in 2006, and this year we're going to release the version 6 of this app. So this is something that's actually used in the field, and it's an app obviously that uses a lot of XQuery, since this is an XQuery Meetup. The XQuery that was written as part of this app wasn't written by us, but by kind of business analysts at Cisco. And during those years, they wrote almost 2,000 XQuery queries. So what does it do? Essentially, when we started this app, it was used by the voice over IP division of Cisco, and they had this situation where to deploy a lot of hardware in the field. So they would go to IBM, for instance, and they would replace all their phones and install a lot of routers, install a lot of hardware. And they have all of this deployed, and at some point they would like to generate some type of reports based on how all this hardware is being used, to see if it's used optimally, if there are problems, and so on. So those reports could be Word documents, could be charts, whatever it is. And the question is, how do they get from A to B, right? How do they get to extract this data, which is sitting in routers, which is sitting in phones? How do they get to extract this data and generate all those reports in a way that's flexible? So the approach that we took was to first do a phase of collection. They have tools that they developed. They know the best how their hardware works. And they use web services, they use whatever needs to be used to extract the data from their system. And they generate a package, a zip file, with a lot of XML data in it. There can be really quite a bit of XML data. It can be gigabytes of XML data that's collected from those systems that are being deployed in the field. Then we import this data into an XML database. For this project, we've been using Exist, but could be another XML database. That was 5 years ago. And in the database as well, they store templates for those reports they want to generate. So that's essentially the part that is common between those reports. They store all those rules I've been talking about, all this XQuery that's going to extract the interesting bits and pieces of data from what was collected. And when they want to generate those reports, they also need to fill out some web forms. And that's essentially where we come in, because our company is doing web forms. So the end users are going to enter some additional data, which is going to be used to generate those reports. And then all this is being cranked out, and we generate all those things. So I'll skip that. So now, with this XML data, the templates, which are Word documents, we use the XML format in Word, the rules in XQuery, an XML database. All of this, the common theme is obviously XML. On the other side, for the data entry, for the web forms that are being used by end users, we use XForms. So all of this is XML technologies, and the great thing about this, and that's kind of the lesson that that was the goal of the project initially, but that's something we learned out of it, it worked out quite well, is that out of using this architecture, and the main benefit of using this architecture, because sometimes people might ask us, well, why didn't you use a relational database, just regular tables, and you query your systems and you import information about phones and store it in tables? Why don't you use Ruby on Rails to create your web forms? Why don't you use some other technology to generate reports? And really what we get out of that is it's all about flexibility. So we developed this app initially for the voice over IP division at Cisco for a very specific use case. It's the XML doing it.
That's beautiful.
I'm not doing any of that.
You do, but it's not sad.
And it turns out that over the years, we discovered that this app that we developed for a very specific use has been used by many more divisions at Cisco for things we had not imagined. And now it's spread to WebEx, who is using that. And all of this thanks to the great flexibility that we get out of using XML data stored in XML database, of using XQuery, of using XForms. So that's it. Let's put some information in case you want to get in touch.
Thank you.